quick intro for this video right here. There might be some people that are going to be asking, is this build good? Would you recommend this, whatever it is? I don't critique builds anymore, okay? I just don't do that, so please do not do that. The reason why I don't do it is because, I mean, there's so many opinions, so many options out there, and also, honestly, I'm not a very good, resource for that. The best resources I can recommend to you are PC Part Picker and Reddit's Build a PC, plus YouTube! You can find many other YouTubers who know a lot more about PC building than I do. I'm a peasant compared to those other guys, so look around and you're gonna find some better opinions than what I could give you. Hey, what is going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and I want to take some time out to show you all my new computer that I ended up building right here. And this thing is Angel, or Project Angel, I guess, either one of the two. I've been calling it Angel. Now, the reason why I gave it this name is because, honestly, looking at it, Stormtrooper might be a bit of a better name for it, but I'm not a huge Star Wars nerd or really a huge Star Wars fan. I respect the series, but just never been a huge fan of it, so therefore I don't want to be biting anyone's style on there. Plus, my old computer was black with red accents and all that stuff and red LEDs, and I called that Demon, so I figured, Angel would be appropriate because I did want to get a white case, and it has, some blue LEDs and stuff in there, so I figured it was an appropriate name. But anyways, I wanted to show you all this due to the fact that this has been something that I've been wanting to do for a while. Now, some people might be asking me, why didn't I just upgrade my old computer? I upgraded it several times, but it's at the point where I actually have a video talking about my old computer, Demon, which I'll try and remember to link somewhere here, and it's just showing my build and showing what all I have. And really at that point, it was at that point where I had said, my computer is good, it's not excellent, it's not great, it's a good to okay computer at this point, but I don't want to put any more money into upgrading it. I would rather just put any money I'm going to put into an upgrade into a new computer. Because with my old computer, I had a issue with if I wanted to upgrade it to my liking, I would have replaced everything. So if I'm going to replace everything, why don't I just build a new PC right here, which that's what I ended up doing. So I kind of want to just give you all a walkthrough of it right here, and also why I built a new PC and such. So first off, the reason why I end up building a new PC is because kind of just a vanity thing for me. This right here is my very late graduation present from myself to myself. I graduated with a 4-year college degree in December of 2015, and I just ended up getting around to building this November of 2016. The reason why I waited so long is because optimally I actually want the GTX 1080 Ti, but it's not out yet. But because Black Friday is a month-long thing, I was able to get Black Friday deals on my computer, so I sat there and I thought, instead of buying the GPU and then buying all the parts, why don't I just build the computer now and then just wait on the GPU? Because the computer's still going to work, it's still going to be fine, and I'll cover what I did for that in a bit. But first off, going with the parts right here, so with the motherboard, I end up going with this Asus Z170AR motherboard, and honestly, nothing too special or crazy or anything. It has 4 slots for RAM, it maxed out at 64 gigs, I made sure it was DDR4, it seems to be good with overclocking, and it has a LGA 2011, or no, a 1151 socket, I was getting it all mixed up there. Point is, it does what I need it to do, not that big of a deal for a motherboard. Now, when it comes to the storage, I actually have several drives in here. I have 4 drives, and the main one you're seeing right here is this SSD 6, which is a 6 series, it's a 600p, it's an Intel 600p solid-state drive. It is a M2 drive, and if you don't know what M2 is, it's okay, I didn't really know either. This motherboard is actually M2 compatible. Now, I keep saying this, and what am I talking about? M2 is just a SATA port. It's a really nice SATA port that is on the motherboard itself. And instead of, getting an SSD and actually hooking it up to your SATA power and your data and all that stuff, instead you just take this and you plop it into the motherboard and then screw it in, and that's it. So you essentially build your storage into the motherboard. It's a 512 gigabyte SSD, by the way, but at this point that means all I had to do was screw it into my motherboard, and that's it. My motherboard has 512 gigabytes of solid-state drive storage. On top of it being easier to install, it's also prices are comparable to regular SSDs, and you do get a very nice boost in speed. So that was definitely nice to have right there. By the way, I'd be impressed, but if you're seeing any of the prices on here, these aren't the prices that I end up paying because, I got discounts and such on them. And then with the processor, you got to have the processor on there as well too. I ended up going with an i7, and I got the 6700K, mostly because, you know, I actually came from the i5 2500K, excellent CPU. I mean, for something that came out in 2011, it's a really good CPU, still holds up pretty well even today, but the 6700K seems to be kind of like the standard go-to this generation for CPUs is what it seems like. It seemed to do what I needed it to do. It's unlocked, it's running at 4 gigahertz by default, and then you can overclock it, and if you're going to be overclocking it, which I have this set to like automatic overclocking with the motherboard here, you kind of want to get some nice cooling going on, especially since this thing does not have it doesn't have a cooler. It's just the CPU itself. It doesn't even come with a stock cooler. So with that, I ended up going with this thing right here, which was the Corsair H100i V2. Some people might be saying, you don't need to liquid cool your system, it's fine. I know you don't need to, but I was kind of spoiled because my old computer actually had liquid cooling in it. It had a liquid cooled CPU, it used an Antec Cooler 620, so I decided to go with this. It's bigger, it's badder, it's meaner, it's cooler, and this whole computer runs much cooler than my old computer, which is quite nice to say the least. But yeah, I ended up going with this thing, so no worries on overclocking or anything. It's been great. And then when it comes to the power supply, I end up getting this EVGA 550 watt modular power supply. So if you don't know what a modular power supply is, essentially that means that normally when you get a power supply, everything is stringed up into one mass of cable. Forget about that. You end up hooking up what you want to, and even, here's the thing, here's the nice thing, if you're wanting a case and you're wanting to actually cable manage your computer, I would still recommend going modular, because even if you use every single cable and every single port on there, the nice thing is you can control where all the cables go instead of just having one big mass and glomp of cable, which was definitely nice when I was going in and cleaning up the cable mess on here. So I'm proud of myself. I did cable manage a little bit. But some other things I have in here, so I mentioned the storage because I only talk about one drive. I have 4 other drives. I also have a SanDisk SSD. I think it's an SSD plus 120 gigabyte model, and I got that just because my default operating system is going to be Windows 10. The 120 gigabyte SSD, I'm going to install Windows 7 on there. I haven't done it yet, but I will be installing it because Windows 7 is compatible with the CPU and the motherboard, so it should actually work. And I'm putting that on there for when I want to use some older modding programs or I just need some better legacy support. I would like that support on there, so Windows 7 will be a nice go-to on that. I also have 2 other drives. I end up buying a new 2 terabyte Western Digital Caviar Black drive, and that's going to be my main data drive, and then I actually ended up bringing in a old 1 terabyte drive that I used to use in that computer, and then I ended up upgrading to a 2 terabyte, so I swapped it out. Point is, I use the 1 terabyte Caviar Black drive as my scratch disk, so that is where I put in all of my Adobe stuff. So anything Adobe, it uses that temporary directory. Essentially any YouTube stuff, any video editing related stuff is going to go on that scratch drive, so I can use and abuse it, and that way I'm not abusing the same drive that all my other data and maybe my games installed are on. I'm not using up write cycles on my SSD. I'm good to go. And even when it comes down to that, because now that I have a 512 gig SSD on here, I'm actually installing games on it for the first time. I'm really only installing the games that I'm going to actually play, but it's nice having that option now at this point. Now there's a few other things I added in here. I also brought in from my old computer a few other components. I brought in a little USB 3.0 type PCI Express card, where it just adds in 4 extra USB 3.0 ports. One of them is internal, which is really wonky to me. But point is, I wanted as much I/O as possible, so I end up adding that in from my old computer. And I even brought in my old GPU. I brought in my GTX 760 Superclock. Now some people might be cringing and hearing, oh my god, why don't you just upgrade the GPU? Here's the thing. I was actually not going to be very impressed with it. I was like, okay, you know, it's probably going to play about the same, whatever it is. But here's the thing, right? I ended up trying it last night. I played Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 played embarrassingly bad on my old computer. Horrible. Horrible, just horrible, like it was showing its age. Titanfall 2 on here, with the new computer and the old GPU, played perfectly. Granted, I was playing at medium to high settings, I wasn't maxing out by any means, but I had no hiccups playing it, and it was incredible. So I'm sitting there like, do I really need the GPU upgrade? The answer is I don't need to upgrade the GPU, but I'd like to upgrade the GPU. So the 760 Superclock is going to be more than adequate to hold me over these next few months. It's still a good card. I just need to, you know, upgrade the rest of the computer along with it. I should also mention, because this is over here, I completely forgot to bring it up, I end up getting this Corsair Vengeance LED style DDR4 RAM, which goes up to 3000 megahertz. So if you're overclocking the RAM, which my RAM is being overclocked right now, I am able to take advantage of those higher speeds, which is quite nice. And also, because it is LED, they end up kind of, you know, glowing and flashing in there. Like, I wanted some of that. The only thing is they kind of just pulse like this. They don't stay stable. So I'd like a way for the lights to stay stable. That'd be really cool. That's what I'm aiming for, but it's not that big of a deal, honestly. That's actually another thing I'm thinking of too. At one point, this is later down the road, right? I know this ended up falling. Okay, you know what? I'll just throw that there. It's fine. This is gonna be later on down the road. I would like to add in some more LEDs and have more white light coming out of here, but I'm not too worried about it right now. The computer's working. It has my stuff on there. It's doing good. Finally, last component I need to mention is the case right here, because this is obviously what you guys are seeing. This right here is the NZXT Noctis 450. I saw this case, I loved it. I actually wanted to get a full-size case, but then I ended up getting this like medium-size case, a mid-size case, and it actually works out pretty well. I've been quite happy with it. At least I'm pretty sure this is mid-size, but yeah, no, I've been happy with it. One major downside to it though, which I didn't realize until I opened it out of the box, but I like the case too much to, you know, try and get another one. It doesn't have any ports at all. It has no slots for a internal optical disc drive, so I can't put in a DVD drive or a Blu-ray drive, which is kind of inconvenient, but I'm still going to have, you know I have an external drive around here somewhere. I can use external drives. I can buy another one if I need to. I'm going to keep my old computer if I really need to use that, so it's not going to be that big of an issue. Plus, this case looks nice. I love everything about it aside from that, and it has fans on fans. It had the LEDs in there by default. The cable management system was nice on here. It has 3 fans right here on the front. It has a fan on the back right here. Then I end up adding in 2 fans with the radiator, with the liquid cooling right there. So this thing, what I'm trying to say is it stays extremely cool. Plus it has some other things, like look at this right here. I can go ahead, pull this out. There's vents. There's a vent right here underneath the computer where the power supply is. There's also a vent right here on this thing when I take it off, so that way I can easily clean off any dust or anything, which is another issue that my old computer had. Whenever I had to dust it off, those fans are just like, not the fans, but the vents are just so janky on there, and it was really disappointing. So overall, still quite happy with this computer so far. Now really my future plans with it at this point, whenever the GTX 1080 Ti comes out and I can get a hold of it, I am going to be swapping that out. I'm going to put the 760 back in my old computer, use that as like a backup or a guest computer, whatever it is, and then maybe add in some LEDs. Like as I said, I'd like some more white LEDs on there, but aside from that, you know, I'm mostly happy with this computer. So far out of pocket, excluding the GPU, it's cost me about $1,300. It's like literally like $1,300 US and some change, which is about what I expected. So overall, when I get the GPU, I'd be spending about $2,000 on this computer, which again, that's really what I expected to spend. That was about my budget, so works out fine for me, and I really got everything I wanted on here. The only parts that I did not pay for were the 1 terabyte hard drive that I put in there, the GTX 760, and the USB 3.0 thing in there, because I already had those around my apartment and in my old computer, so I just slapped them in here and we were good to go. So I think we're alright on that. I've been quite happy with Angel. Angel has suited me quite well, and so far, you know, editing video on this has been great. Doing other things has been great as well too. You know, it's overall an extremely solid computer, and I'm super happy to be using Angel at this point and upgrading off Demon. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario is signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone, and let me know what you thought of this video. And if you enjoyed it, a like would be appreciated. If you hated it, because I don't know, you wanted a black computer or something, a dislike's fine too. It's all good, man. I'm happy with Angel.